What's up, people? You read the title Rise. This is the written protest. What's up, Lindo? Something is wrong with this YouTube streaming thing. It's not showing the views or the stream health correctly. Ah, boy. Oh well, usually when things start like this, yeah, there's probably a lizard messing with the connection, right? This is really weird. There we go. It's fixed. Majudu. What's up, man? Yeah, y'all. I'm pretty much finished with chapter 31. There's just one page left. But I don't care. I'm just doing the MANAA review, the MANAA diaries right now. And it's literally page 1 that is missing. So what you see on the screen is actually page 2. So am I gonna have to switch networks here? Ah, boy, this internet thing always be freezing. So I don't know. Let me quickly try to change networks. I don't like these pauses that I'm making. Let's see. Okay. All should be fine now. Alright, y'all. So, as the title reads, a written protest against God. Now, before I get into the whole topic, there is a coffee reviews sale. So, for anyone who would like to get a review, a paid review, it's $35. $35 for 60 pages and lower. So yeah, if you're planning on getting a review, now's your chance because it's on sale, nearly half the price, right? So $35 for 60 pages or lower. Send a DM if you're interested. Okay, so before I even talk about this main topic, who's noticed other artists on YouTube slowly lose momentum, slowly lose the fire in their voice, the fire in their output, the fire in their delivery? Am I the only one? I've kind of noticed a lot of people losing that fire, man. And I don't blame them. Everything's kind of messed up right now globally, right? Kind of hard to think about that future and whatnot, but I think for those who really are bummed out the most are the ones who were so tied into the whole psyop and dungeon games of the internet, of the establishments, the institutions. Japan has fallen, it's compromised, all of its institutions are bogus. They are nothing but fronts for all kinds of money laundering garbage. They are microphones for propaganda organizations. It's no longer about the heart, it's no longer about the artist, it's no longer about the human. It's all about now, making everybody a robot and just consuming endless garbage. And even the most pathetic, deadbeat hunchback in the universe, even he wants real nourishment, right? If there was more real nourishment from these companies supplying these stories, there would be less hunchbacks. If society rewarded those who wanted to go over and beyond, right? Rewarded those who, the tougher the circumstance they're in, but the greater their desire to become a Super Saiyan, things would be better, But that's never going to happen. Those days are not coming back. It's over, right? But I am seeing that people are feeling what I'm describing, but there's no real conscious awareness to it. Now, a lot of these artists who be posting on Global Comics, Manga Plus creators, I know you dying inside. You probably dead already, right? If y'all are not on the Patreon, I suggest you go ahead and subscribe, because we always got good analytical videos going over there where I break everything down, right? Beef up your membership to that Coffee Ultimate and check out how the breakdown goes, because I went through the guy who won the new gold, right? Who was the first person to win a gold on Manga Plus Creators? Rafal Jaki. Why? Because it's Rafal Jaki, a veteran writer in Hollywood. Go figure. Who's the second guy who won? A Frenchman whose cousin is the biggest manga artist in France. Yeah, go figure. What's his story about? Basically killing yourself. That's what it's about, right? Not your physical body, but killing your entire soul. I go through it on Patreon on how disastrous this is, because they even interviewed the guy. They interviewed him, and it was the most demoralizing interview I've ever read in my life. I just couldn't believe it, He's finished. France is finished. Japan is finished. Everybody's finished. But I'm not finished. And you want to know why I'm not finished? Because my story ain't finished. But guess what? I just made it halfway through the story right now. Chapter 31 is basically halfway done. I should say chapter 31 signals the half point of the entirety of Bloody Hell. Why? Because the overall grand plot is revealed in this chapter, right? And it's another, what Pierce would classify in the review, another subversive trope that I pulled. But it's not the subversive tactic that a cultural Marxist does, right? Because that example would be like The Boys or Invincible, where they subvert heroism, right? And turn it into cynical, maniacal garbage, right? No. Bloody Hell's the type of story that, unfortunately, if you do know me, because you listen to what I say here and there, you're going to be like, there's too much of yourself in it. Yeah, well, if you didn't listen to any video I ever made, you would never know that, right? However, what you would get is a lot of context, right? Now, this is not self-insertive as a crazy nut job in Hollywood does, right? That's not how it is. It's not how it is at all. The problem is that too many people are uneducated on how to consume a product, consume a story, and they don't have the proper framework to begin breaking down a story, right? they don't know where to start asking a critical question. So everybody is half baked in the head right now, basically close to near retarded, right? It's very unfortunate. But it's as I said for who knows how long right now. We're in the dark ages, right? You got electricity, you got an Xbox, but spiritually, in fact, spiritually, people in the dark ages were way more alive than we are. Oh, they were dying physically. The Black Plague, you know, and all other problems. Oh yeah, physically they were dying, but spiritually they were alive. And that spirit that kept them going didn't necessarily have to be true. It just had to affirm and justify why life was the way it is for them. But what do we find ourselves in right now? There is no unifying idea that explains why we are the way we are right now. But that's where bloody hell comes in. Because everybody is looking for it. You've seen these videos on YouTube. Young men need purpose. Young men don't have purpose. Young men just want to sit down and play video games all day. They always want to say to young man, I got too old to be called young. I'm not young anymore. And it's so sad. Because I remember when I was 25, I would call in on the radio, participate in my local society in an attempt to feel a part of something, right? I thought, you know what, man, if you switch off the internet and you participate in your local spaces, you're going to feel way more alive. You're going to feel way more connected. Because you might have 15,000 friends on Facebook, but all them niggas don't care about you. How's about you try something in the real world? And I did, and nothing happened. I tried volunteering, but this is Africa. You try to volunteer, it means you're not good for business. It means you're going to expose all the criminality stuff going on. I literally went to go volunteer at a food bank. It's not really a food bank, but a place where they feed the poor or they feed the hungry. There was so much food there, I couldn't believe it. And it was during COVID. I get there, there's two women. They look so shocked and scared of me coming in. Who's this big black nigga coming in? And I'm like, why are they looking at me like I'm a criminal? Right? Like, you deal with homeless niggas coming in every day, and you looking at me like I'm a criminal. But you want to know why they looked at me that way? Because number one, a person who was not a homeless nigga was not scheduled to come in. Meaning, they were getting ready to do their criminal activities. All that food that was there, they were taking it to go resell it. That's right. The amount of corruption in the local space of mine is just insane. Any South African or African can tell you that you try to get involved in local spaces and you're not somebody's cousin, like the criminal's cousin, you're going to get shot, or you're just going to be told to be gone, or you're going to be dismissed. Because they told me that, no, we are not looking for volunteers right now. And I'm like, but don't you need an extra hand to feed the hungry? And they literally told me, well, currently there aren't many hungry people. I was like, what? So, yeah, we're being gaslit on every corner. You try to do something locally, they tell you, sorry, can't. You try to do something online, they're going to call you a creep, they're going to try to get you down, they're going to try to shut you down, yada, yada, yada. So you got to do your own thing, but your own thing might not be so profitable, right? So where bloody hell comes in all of this is that it is to challenge the status quo. It is to challenge the causality of the status quo. Because I told y'all that this story began as an attempt for me to get over some trauma, right? It was an attempt for me to find light in the dark because I saw that my circumstance is just gonna bury a nigga. So I was like, all right, man, before you get buried, how's about you try to find some matches, go get some wax and a string and make yourself a candle. How's about you try some of that? That's how this story started. But now we go beyond circumstance, and we observe causality itself. What caused the circumstance is where bloody hell has now stepped into with this chapter, right? This is how, you see, there's this other book. It's bigger than the Bible, and I haven't bought it yet. It is pretty much not a retelling, but an uncovering of the Renaissance for what it really was. I already knew because I have a lot of context now thanks to all the other books I read. But the Renaissance, as great as we know it, was not that great at the time. And the thing is, here's the crazy part. One guy made a video saying the 2030s is going to lead to a Renaissance, or it's going to be a Renaissance. No. The Renaissance could have already started. And in maybe 200, 300 years, they will call this very moment the Renaissance. Why? Because people like me who have been squeezed and stretched out, like you who've been demoralized and tried to create your own works, other people who have gone beyond, right? They have done greater works than what Hollywood is supplying right now, than what video game companies are supplying right now, than what manga and comics are supplying right now. But the problem is that there's no guarantee that all the works being produced right now will be found in 300 years. If the AI decides to censor everything, well, it's game over. If we all individually decide to bury our works in the yard, it's not like somebody's going to dig in everybody's front yard in 300 years, right? The only thing that kept the Renaissance alive was because the institutions protected all that art, right? They didn't allow normies to go into a museum. You know that, right? Normies were not allowed to go to a gallery. But today you get normies who can just buy a ticket, go in there, and mess everything up. You got mother suckers who are part of the Stop the Oil movement who are going in and vandalizing 800-year-old artwork. That should be a crime. They should be burned alive. But no. They threw themselves over there, but hey, that could be a psyop. But because no one can be that retarded, right? To glue their hand to something, you're going to starve to death sitting over there. You're going to decompose and make the whole place smell bad. So it is most likely a psyop designed to break your tie to the old world. Seeing a bunch of retarded Gen Zs, Gen Alphas go and vandalize things they don't understand. So there's no guarantee that our stuff will be found in 200 years. Does that mean we shouldn't tell the story? Well, if you never felt the need to tell a story, then don't. But for someone like me, I have to tell it. And guess what? This is going to sound really creepy, right? There was a page here that I'm going to show. I once told y'all that we don't have free will. I once told y'all that, right? And it's not as simple as it sounds. Oh, no free will? I guess you just are automatically looking at both sides of the street before you cross, right? Actually, yeah. Because that's a habit. That's a habit that was taught to ensure your survival. So actually, that is not an argument of you have free will or not, right? But anyway, there was this piece of dialogue I thought I was writing, but it was not me. Schopenhauer would say, the great will is at play, right? The great will is at play. If you read Berserk, the same thing, right? That's when I noticed that I'm not actually writing the story here. The great will is writing this story using my experience in my physical life. I'm not writing it. So now the question is, Nigga, what are you talking about? You see, this is where you ain't gonna get these types of conversation anywhere else on YouTube because too many mother suckers are too busy trying to entertain you. They ain't trying to go deep because they can't. They shallow mother suckers. Right? And then when somebody doesn't understand what I'm saying, oh man, I don't get it, man. Oh man, that's not my fault. How's about you elevate? How's about you go read all them books that I read? Now, man, I need 30 seconds worth of information. All right, you can go to TikTok. But I'm telling you, this chapter really showed me that I ain't in control. You are not in control. We are all just here on a ride, right? And your body is pretty much like the little, if you're on a ride at the carnival, your body is like the seat belt and the vehicle that you're on at the damn carnival. So strap on, you're already strapped on. You woke up strapped on, strapped into your body. The time that you can get off the ride is when your head gets cut off or, you just die of old age. So in other words, we're all here for a ride. We're all here to experience this insanity. And all of us here who are not the sons and daughters of oligarchs are tremendously unfortunate, unlucky, because 9 out of 10 we're just going to die as victims. Oh, well, it was a good ride, right? Hopefully you managed to get some peanut butter jelly, a little bit of pup and flakes, some cake and cookies before you went bye-bye. This helps when you start observing life to this degree, right? When you start studying mystical language as well, and you forsake the dogmatic approach to living your life, because that's what causes a lot of crash outs. But okay, I'm gonna go through the chapter, and then I'm gonna go through the topic as to like what do I mean by a written protest against God. Let me see some comments quick. LaMay, that manga didn't even end with the MC using her platform to subtly protest her oppressors, just utter defeat. Are you talking about, what are you talking about, LaMay? Are you talking about Urana Sensei? Death Extreme, you get it, bro. You get it, bro. Right, so let me just go through. So this is page 2. Dracula arrives in Jacob's inner world. And the inner world is the subconscious, right? Is the subconscious. Where did I get this idea? Bleach, obviously. So you ripped it off, nigga, please. All right. Where did Tai Kubo rip it off from? Yeah, you see, he ripped it off from Carl Jung, if he ever studied him. Or from some other manga artist. You see, it's not a rip-off if you use it right. So he arrives in Jacob's subconscious. If you read volume 2, you would remember that Jacob started to grow a soul tree in his subconscious. And that's what Dracula has come for. So he says, I made it in time. Let me use his voice. I was thinking to give him a Romanian voice, but it sounds kind of cheesy. But let's see. I made it in time. Okay, that's terrible. Let's just use a normal deep voice. I made it in time. Any later, and this tree would have sapped all his potential. He has already begun to sprout 2 out of 7 of those accursed fruits. These damned soul trees have cursed generations of stagnation, have caused generations of stagnation. No more. It must be destroyed. Oh yeah, let's pause right there. So, now what is this tree? Now, as a former Christian apologist, I'm extrapolating a lot from the Christian experience that I'm no longer part of, from the Christian law, right? This tree, these fruits are very important, and they don't really teach about the fruits of the Spirit anymore, fruit of the Spirit anymore in modern times. But as somebody who was there, feel the disdain that Dracula has for this tree. He says these soul trees have caused generations of stagnation. That's very interesting, isn't it? Right? I wish in maybe 10 years while I'm still alive that somebody would analyze bloody hell the way I'm offering my analytical approach right now. You see, this is why you got to get a coffee review that's on sale. Because my analytical approach to your storytelling is going to be very beneficial. You ain't going to get it anywhere else. Because if you want to have that impact, you need to know what is still tied into the subconscious of, well, the collective subconscious of your demographic. You see, mother suckers are so used to just being entertained, bro. Peak fire, hug, burp, that's it. They don't have an analytical framework. They don't have critical thinking. They're retarded. Right? They're absolutely retarded. They can only judge something based on how sugary it was, how enjoyable it was based on the amount of sugar that was in the damn content. They can't explain to you why all these ingredients harmonize very well. They don't have the framework. I have the framework, right? But probably a pipe dream. Nobody gonna do it for me like this. Pierce came close. He came the closest, right? But his analytical approach, in a way, it's like, well, you're kind of cheating, bro, because you know me, right? If you didn't know me, would you be able to use the same framework you were using? I don't know. So it would be interesting to get somebody who doesn't know me to break things down. But anyway, Dracula represents a part of myself, right? A shadow version of myself that, Carl Jung spoke about, the shadow self and so on. This bloody hell extrapolates from a lot of Nietzschean philosophy. But when it comes to the psychology of bloody hell, it's very much so Jungian, right? It's very much so Jungian. So if you don't know the doctrines of Carl Jung and his other discoveries, well, you're not going to know. But you already do know, just not consciously. And that's the difference, right? That's the difference. Because if you have a partial conscious awareness to any of Carl Jung's stuff, you're going to immediately grab it. And be like, I know where he's extrapolating this idea from. And you can be like, this is cool because I know what it's leading into. If you don't consciously know, you're going to just be intrigued. See, these are the mechanics. These are the mechanics of the greater aspect of storytelling. The greater aspect of delivering an impactful, compelling experience. You see what I'm talking about? Now, because a lot of people on YouTube in this indie space are jacked in the head, they're already scratching their head right now. But that's not my fault that you're ignorant. It's your own fault. Eating milk and cookies on the daily. Right? So, Dracula's sick and tired of this soul tree. These soul trees. Meaning this is not the first one he's encountered. Then he says it must be destroyed. And finally, after volume 4, Jacob was not in volume 4 at all, right? He arrives and yells, "What the hell are you doing here, Dracula? Answer me." And then we come to my favorite page, one of my favorite pages. where it's like he's about to turn around. And then Jacob realizes something over here, saying, hold on, how did he get here? No one except Lisa could enter my inner world. What's going on here? I could have sworn he... And Dracula says, confused, aren't you? How did I enter here? Why are you still alive? What's going on? Well, it's very simple. I have come to save you. Yeah, you see, if any miracle happens with a voice actor, yeah, man, I'm gonna need niggas to audition. Because this moment here, it's like, yo, give me that You Are Baja, the dub version, all right? Anyway, I have come to save you. And we went through this part. And I decided to add, the red eyes. So, as usual, Jacob is about to crash out. But, not really. He catches himself. See, clenching that fist, powering up, and then he powers down. And Dracula noticed that. Then Jacob asks, so what is it? What do you want to save me from? Dracula says, from the jaws of the Gyre and the so-called King of Light. Uh-oh. What? Wait a minute. Isn't the King of Light like the god of the bloody hell universe? Isn't the King of Light like the guy who took Arthur to the heavens to save the world from vampires? So what the hell is Dracula talking? He wants to save Jacob from the jaws of the Gyre. What the heck is the Gyre? And why does he want to save him from the King of Light? Now, Piers would be surprised and say, oh, the the plot's moving forward. Because usually when Jacob's around, the plot doesn't move forward. Only his personal development moves forward. Right? And Jacob is surprised. And Dracula says, tell me, Tapesh, do you remember asking him why the world is so? Do you remember your anger, your confusion as to why he permits all this pain, all this death, misery, agony, suffering? Do you remember how his answer was to blame you instead? Now, I know what some normies might be thinking. Typical Japanese style villain. I want to kill God type thing. You see, this is where if the world wasn't crazy, I would win 10,000 awards. I would win the Nobel Peace Prize. I would win the Tezuka Prize. I would win everything. I'd be invited to Oxford and whatnot, because there isn't one philosopher that I've encountered who can explain, right? They've all tried, right? One came close, but no one is going to explain what I'm going to deliver in this story. Why? They all came up with their own reasons why. But did anyone ask themselves? Only one person did. Only one person did. One philosopher did. I just forgot his name. It's not Kant. And that philosopher said God blew himself up into a trillion pieces, and we are all pieces of him. And I think it concluded there. And I added on to that, as Plato added on to Socrates' sayings, as Aristotle added on to Plato, as the Jews added on to the 42 Confessions of Egypt. That's how it is, right? As the Jews added on to Zoroastrianism. That's how it is. We all add on top of our findings. Somebody found that, you add on your findings. It is all one big chain. You see, I'm doing something and I'm excited. Even though you can say the world is ending, no one really cares. I know no one really cares. But I care. right? I care because this is what Nietzsche would have wanted, right? Nietzsche is my favorite philosopher. He's my father. This is what my father would have wanted, right? I'm doing exactly what Nietzsche would have wanted, and I feel good doing that, right? Asking those bigger questions, pushing things to the limit, challenging the status quo. I like it. I like it because that's what my father would have wanted. And I'm doing the will of my father, which is Friedrich Nietzsche. Okay? Even though he died like 126 years ago. But anyway, yeah. So if you read volume 2, you would have remembered this moment where Jacob encountered the King of Light. So Jacob gets upset here, he gets triggered. And he's like, how do you even know all that? And Dracula says, after ridding you of that fairy, I established a new soul thread between us. Now our souls are linked, and I have access to all your memories. I know everything about you now, and how that tree got here. Had I not come here in time, you would have sprouted all 7 soul fruits, gaining a little power, but losing all your potential for more. I have come to rescue you from stagnation, to save you from being branded with his curse seal on your soul. I'm not going to give everything away, like the explanations behind like the fruits. I've given hints, right? But notice Dracula brings up that word again, stagnation. You see, people can say bloody hell's mediocre because the art ain't all that. Okay, well, those same people bought every book of Demon Slayer that has one of the worst artworks in shonen history, right? And they still say that's peak. So honestly, people like that, I ain't got time for their opinion. But I want to say that a person who can give you the greatest feedback, the person who can judge you the best, is somebody who knows where you're borrowing the ideas you're talking about. You see, that's the only good thing about it. Because a normie can just say, yeah, bro, it was cool. I like the drawings, right? I like the screaming and the shouting. Yeah, that one page he remembers where the character said booyah, and that's all there is he remembers. He can't tell you that you borrowed this idea from here, and there, because he's illiterate. He's not a scholar. I'm a scholar. He's not about this life. I'm about this life. You see? So it's like if you want to judge my work, right, narratively, to fully judge it, you got to know where I'm borrowing from. Because if you don't know where I'm borrowing from, you're not going to get it. You're just, out of hatred for me, just going to say, yeah, it's cheap. Based on what? See? We had that hunchback who tried to tell Don Fon to review Bloody Hell because Bloody Hell is super mediocre. How would you know, hunchback? You can't even express what's mediocre about it, so you got to get Don Fon to do it for you. Nobody gonna get nowhere. Nobody gonna grow if there aren't any real teachers like me. Nigga, I'm Socrates. I'm Niggalese. All right? I am Niggalese. And it's my job as Niggalese and the long lost son of Friedrich Nietzsche to tell your asses if you're out of order. Right? Yeah. I'm actually having fun today. Where's the lizard? You know I never caught it. It's still hiding. All right. I guess it's going to come for me after the stream. Let me quickly check some comments real quick. Oh, the French manga that you were talking about, my man. Oh, yes. Yeah, you're right. All right. Coffee VA win. Oh yeah? Well, I have to practice some more, bro. I have to practice some more. Little Monster is officially in Jump Plus, the website with Spy Family. Yeah, what a disaster. Japanese people also hated the ending and found it confusing. And the thing is that Western jokes won't mix well with Japanese people. Yeah, he said that in his interview. You know, I mentioned that in the Patreon. The guy said he's specifically looking for American jokes and dad jokes. I'm like, he's an idiot, you know. Yeah, but same to me with Japanese only works. Um, Olaf in the house. Funny, I was gonna use a tree myself in my story. Collective mind indeed. You see what I'm saying? Bro, if you having this caffeine right here, you and I share the same collective subconscious, right? The hunchbacks have their own collective subconscious, but they are more of a hive mind. They're like Tyranids from Space Marine, or Warhammer Space Marine, right? The Tyranids are literally giant cockroaches that just devour everything. That is the greatest example of a hunchback. They all operate on a massive hive mind that just devour everything they see. No questions. So for us, we are in a proper collective subconscious that is for functioning people. Put that tree in your story, bro. Put that tree in your story. In Jungian, Christ is the ultimate self, the complete whole. Yeah, and of course I'm going to explore that. Don't spoil it now. Come on, you know. True, and inspiration isn't a bad thing. People use it foolishly. Oh yeah, you spelled foolishly wrong, bro. DMC5 Yggdrasil for a recent one. Well, I didn't play DMC5, so you know. Gnosticism has the whole each of us a piece of God them. Oh, for real? I only recently just started poking at Gnosticism like that. It's very uninteresting, if you ask me. It's a bit too uninteresting, but oh well. The art in Bloody Hell is good. Thank you very much. 7 is the number to denote perfection, so it means he'll become perfect, but he'll cease to grow as perfection. Doesn't need growth. What do you think of Jordan Peterson and Neil deGrasse Tyson? Rookie R, yes, you are learning, y'all. We are at the academy. Okay, Jordan Peterson lost his mind. Had his daughter go to Andrew Tate and his brother to get blasted to infinity. So aside from him being a pathetic father, he legit doesn't know what he's talking about. He just brings a lot of fluff and extrapolates from basic surface level Christian lingo and extrapolates broken Gnostic ideas and tries to concoct a message that doesn't fully land. But because he's saying so much gobbledygook in his psychologist cosplay costume, you feel that you are the one not understanding him because you are the retarded one. When in actuality, Jordan Peterson is the retarded one. He just has framed himself as the intelligent one because of his fancy suit, right? His soft way of speaking, his hairline that's implanted, right? And the way he sits on a chair. But the guy is an ignorant schizo and loser. As for Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's a hack. I just, honestly, he's just a hack. He's got nothing to offer. Neil deGrasse Tyson is one of the biggest speculative motherfuckers of, I don't want to say of the century, but he's got a lot of speculative language and theories. Now, a lot of theories in general um, is speculative, right? But the thing is, if you're going to speculate to that level and not have any means of testing your theory, then you might as well be a fictional writer, you know? So he's crazy. As philosophers, favorite philosopher is Nietzsche. Yeah, it is. What about Young now that he's famous? Oh, Jiang. Jiang is a PSYOP agent. Jiang is a straight up PSYOP agent. The guy calls himself Professor Zhang, but he's got a bachelor degree. He doesn't have a PhD, right? And he admitted that he uses game speculative theory, right? So Zhang's whole mission under the CCP is to make Western people second guess their history. He questions your history with the intention of disemboweling your tie to it, right? Zhang, an example is, he would ask about, was Rome really that great? Did Rome really succeed as much as that? Because if you think about it, it's not really possible to expand to that degree given the technology at the time. Blah, 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 blah. He's no different to Peterson, gobbledygook. He's hiding behind the idea of being a professor. He's literally not a professor. Jordan is a professor, but he's still retarded. This guy ain't a professor. He's just naturally retarded, right? But he's intentionally trying to break everybody, particularly in the West, tie or sense of security to their history. Why? Because they're rewriting history right now. You and me are outside of current history. What is current history? Current history is what the AI is writing. You and I don't exist in the new human timeline. We don't exist. Right? Bloody hell is for those who are aware which human timeline they're in. The lives that you and I have lived, what we've experienced, the collective subconscious we share based on the ideas we consumed as children, right? The experience we all had in the way schools were, right? Playing in the garden, in the yard, and so on. That human history ends with us. And they didn't have to kill us in order to rewrite a new history. No, they just had to make us irrelevant and make hunchback mother suckers, Gen Alpha zombies relevant. And now the new history is being built on that, right? Old history within the current history is being subverted. An example, Odyssey. The Odyssey movie by Christopher Nolan, right, is from this book written by a feminist crazy woman that subverted everything that Homer wrote. That's current history. There is a new mythos being fed to us about our human existence and human experience through Hollywood, through the screens. Since mother suckers don't read, how are they consuming narratives about themselves? How are they diagnosing the human experience? It's through the screens, seeing the bullcrap through Hollywood. Helen of Troy being black, Achilles being a transgender, right? All this nonsense we see. Seeing a lead role for a female being played by that freak, Zendaya, who only has one face. I hate that girl. She sucks. She's whack. She ain't attractive. I don't know what anyone sees in that chick. So it's all a psyop. But I'm here to give you that caffeine. That's like, drink. Nigga, drink this, because if you don't, you're going to stay asleep and you're going to wake up in a gulag. I mean, we're kind of in it a little bit, but we can still open the door, right? But sleep any longer, you're not going to be able to pick the locks anymore. I can pick the locks, so you gotta learn to pick the locks. Uh, Mine is Carl Jung, but I pay a lot more. I pay a lot of Persona. Oh, you play a lot of Persona, etc. That deals with those themes. So it's a given. I've never played Persona. I didn't know it looked like yeah, it is an RPG game, but I don't know, it's just too bizarre for me. I didn't know what it was about. So if it has those themes, that's pretty cool. Would Nick Fuentes and Tucker be PSYOP agents or bruh? Of course, Nick Fuentes and Tucker are PSYOP agents. Tucker being the biggest. Tucker Carlson's father was literally a CIA agent. He admitted it. And then when Nick Fuentes asked him, why do you lie about your father being a CIA agent? He's like, I didn't lie. Tucker, we have the video of you saying your father was a CIA agent. You come from a family of CIA operatives. And he still denied it. You know, the same way Brandon Chen denied selling courses on his website, even though we all saw it. Nick Fuentes is the biggest PSYOP agent, designed to pacify and provide catharsis for the troubled, young, straight, white male who still clings on to Christian ideals. But Nick Fuentes is gay. We all saw the videos of him going on a date with a known gay gigolo man. He wears cat ears, he's openly gay, he sells his booty to the highest bidder, and Nick said it's a good idea to go on a date with this gay gigolo. So of course he's a PSYOP agent. Nick Fuentes is very eloquent and good at speaking. People are always so impressed. I could debate and speak circles around Nick Fuentes, right? I could do it. It's like, look, Nick, just because a lot of people are impressed by your delivery, that doesn't mean you can't be outmatched, right? Don't make me get my suit and tie on because I'm going to light your ish up, right? I'm going to light your ish up. So he's a PSYOP agent too, one of the biggest. People, he was accused many times that, nah, this guy's an operative. Because how is it that Nick Fuentes can be debanked consistently, but then make a few videos claiming how rich he is now through cryptocurrency? It's like, oh, okay. But now you're getting on planes, so you're back on the flight list. And so it doesn't really make sense. These are claims. Nick claims this, and that has happened to him. There's no proof. No one does the research. So he is a PSYOP agent. Daskimi, yes, I am from South Africa. Metaphor Refanisio goes even more on the whole Messiah themes. Localization is pretty bad. Yeah. I watched a lot of reviews about that game. It was praised a lot, but no one went into depth really as to what it's trying to say. They mentioned a bit of the themes, but it was in a shallow way. So because I didn't play it, I wouldn't really know. So yes, Daskisme, I am South African. Did I say your name right? Daskisme, yeah. I am from Zanzi. I eat the pap and fleis. But anyway, let me get back over here to the story. So now we're presented with the soul seal of the infinite phoenix. This seal would doom your soul to be reborn infinitely. But it'd be worse for you. You'd be his moral crusader of light, infecting new humans with these fruits of poison. The king of light has attempted to recruit you in his twisted cycle to protect the foundations of the gyre. And Jacob is surprised by this and he yells, "Rubbish! Are you saying we're trapped in a loop of death and suffering, only to be reborn to repeat the same misery all over again? Why would the King of Light create such a cycle? You're just upset you couldn't rob me of my hope. And why the hell should I believe you anyway? You're just a monster. Oh, I love that line. I love that line. Man, if I had money right now, I would pay the voice actor of Ichigo, but I'd tell him, look, man, can you make your voice a little bit deeper? Just make it a little bit deeper. Just for this line. Just for this line, where Jacob says these two things. You're just upset you couldn't rob me of my hope. And why the hell should I listen to you anyway? You're just a monster. So here, this revelation here of like, oh man, are we doing this whole reincarnation, breaking the wheel thing? Right? That's been done 1 trillion times in every video game. From on the surface, that's what it looks like. Right? Yes, the samsara wheel. Yes, trying to break it's Buddhism, right? You reach Buddha nirvana status so you can break out of the wheel. The wheel, right? But it's different. It's different because number one, the journey matters to the conclusion of the story, right? The journey really matters. That's the nice thing about this, because you're not waiting to just see the end. You're actually waiting and anticipating how the characters are going to deal with this next catastrophe type thing, right? So Dracula walks up to him and he says, I was not always a monster. I was once a man, the first man in creation, and the first to be reborn. And Jacob's like, what? Come, Tapesh. It's time you see the truth. These are one of those twists where it's like you're borrowing the idea of breaking the wheel of fate, right? So not to make it generic, not to make it obvious, what happened? We'll find out that Dracula is actually the first man in creation. Now, for those who read Volume 1, you'll be like, wait, I thought Dracula's origins was explained by Arthur. You see, even Pierce missed a certain clue. I even asked, I'm like, did you forget that one part? He's like, oh man, I didn't even think about that one part. I'm like, you see, it's not my fault if you get confused. I put it there. Right? So it's like, wait, what? Dracula was the first man in all of creation. That's right. It's time you see the truth. And he brings him to his inner world in a way. And Jacob was like, what is this? And Dracula responds saying, the gyre of infinite recurrence. Now, for those who have read Nietzsche, you already know, not the gyre part. The gyre part is from a different philosopher. And notice how I put it in smaller words, right? Because the more important one is Nietzsche over here. The gyre of infinite recurrence. So if you read Nietzsche, you would know I'm referencing eternal recurrence. No, I'm referencing that. You see. So also, if any of you have ever seen, I don't know what to call it, whether to call it a painting or a drawing. I don't know who did it, but it was done millennia ago, of, I think it is Enoch. It's either Enoch and that one angel, the angel that takes him up, or it's Dante and Virgil. Not sure who it is. I think it's Enoch, where there's a portal that opens and it's like surrounded by millions of angels. I've always liked that illustration or that painting. I don't know what to call it. It was just so mesmerizing, so deep, so rich, right? And so touching, because obviously if you're a believer, you can relate and you can feel touched. And even though I don't believe anymore, based on the memories, it is still touching, based on the objective importance of it regardless, despite it not needing to be objectively true. it's still touching, right? So I was like, I got to see that's the thing, y'all. Only somebody who who has like a visual library and a literature library and a philosophy library like me can actually judge me to that degree. If you want to judge me as a normie, fine, but you're just going to say what a normie says. But if you want to give like the full dissection of something, then you're going to have to judge me as if you are a professor, that you have the same library in your head as I do, you know? Because when I judge your guys' stuff, I give you the normie standard and then I give you the coffee standard. You see? So if you want to review, ad break, $35, we are on sale. $35 for 60 pages. So, the gyre of infinite recurrence. And then he says, what you see are all the earths that have ever existed until now. And Jacob is totally shocked. But I thought there were only two. How can this be? It was very established early on that there was an Earth 1 and there was an Earth 2. But now, as Dracula says, there's been more than that, right? Infinitely. Then he says, unfortunate, isn't it? An infinite number of dead Earths, each only remembering the prior before its own destruction. It took me eons to finally be aware of this gyre. All my rebirths only gave me crumbs of my past until my 6,000 rebirth. The King of Light, he designed reality this way. He created me to serve as the evil catalyst to every Earth's doom. He made me his scapegoat, someone to blame for all the misery. Now, if you know your Bible and you know Job and you had your skepticism, then you understand what Dracula, how he feels. If you read Paradise Lost, then you know what I'm talking about. Paradise Lost is absurdly long, bro. It's disastrously long. That's why I put the audiobook on. Even that's long as a mug. But it's so well written. Like, oh my goodness, it's so well written. See, this is what I'm talking about. Look, man, I don't have a Lamborghini right now, but this moment here, I feel happier right now. I'll be depressed later, but right now, I feel happier than Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. I don't care if you put Megan Fox right in front of me right now and she's oiled up and everything. I'll be like, woman, I'm busy. I don't care. You put the Stallion right there, you put MANAA, you put... They all oiled up. I'm busy. I'm busy because I'm engaged. I'm busy because I am in the realm of ideas. I'm busy because my soul has transcended for the moment. I've gone beyond. So take your oily butt, Beyonce, and stay away. Right? Because I'm busy with the boys. Oh, that sounds wrong. I'm busy in the spirit right now. Right? This is fun. You see, a lot of artists, they want to experience fun and glee and hooray when they get glazed. When they get glazed, bro. When somebody takes a whole jar of cream and rubs their chest, that's when they want to feel the way I feel right now. Like, oh yeah, rub it some more. White manga, all these mother suckers, they can't feel what I feel right now. They can never do it. Right? They can never do it, not organically, because it's not within their own hands. It's in the hands, literally, of those who glaze them. That's why they constantly have to appease them, right? But you know me, I ain't appeasing nobody. You here because you see the bigger picture. You here because you get it. I don't have to rub your chest, you see? So, even though I'll be depressed in like 30 minutes after the stream, at least I had a good time, right? Even Elon Musk and Bezos got to sniff a joint. they gotta take some cocaine after, participating in whatever orgy they were doing. They still depressed after that. So it's like, look, we all depressed whether you're rich or poor after all. I mean, we'd all rather be rich. And I know it kind of sounds like cope right now, but the truth is, right now in this moment, as I am engaged in the realm of ideas, seeing how I have borrowed ideas from legendary people who have come before me to create something coherent, that is very fun, and what's the word? It's very justifying. I don't have the word for it. It's escaping me right now. But point is, it feels real good, man. Nietzsche would be proud. So Jacob then asks, well, aren't you to blame? I didn't see the King of Light hold a knife to your throat as you killed Lisa or my family. Then Dracula asks, let me ask you something. As a former scholar, it should be easy for you. If a bear is loose in a village and kills someone, should the whole forest burn for its crime? Should a bear bound by nature be blamed for exercising its instincts? And Jacob answers saying, are you serious? Such a bear should be killed or contained. Dracula then says, precisely. There's no debate. It ought to be put down or contained, and yet here I am still free. I am the bear unleashed upon humanity, forever reborn to spill innocent blood. Hold the phone. Hold the phone. That's right. That's right. This is a major twist, But this is not the page where I was like, I'm not writing this. Who the hell's writing this? I didn't write this. Who's controlling my brain? The great will is controlling my brain. But anyway, the great consciousness is controlling my brain. But anyway, this part of him recognizing that he is the bear unleashed upon humanity, forever reborn to spill innocent blood. Why a bear in particular, right? I mean, initially, right, when I made the storyboards, I wrote it as a lion, not a bear. A lion, right? But then when I was drawing it here, it became a bear. Why? Because I'm not writing the story. The great will is writing the story. So why a bear? Because a bear doesn't have to eat meat all the time. A bear doesn't need blood. That's why, right? A bear is an omnivore, as far as I know. I mean, a polar bear only eats meat. It can't eat, there's no trees in the Arctic. So, but land bears, they don't have to eat meat. So I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, that actually works. In other words, it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way, but it is. Why? Well, let's look at the next page. Dracula then says, this double spread, and yes, I did steal a panel from Berserk. I had to. The DNA strand here, that's from chapter, that one chapter that was removed because it showed too much too early. Yeah. He says, over and over again, I have been the evil tool used to accelerate the inevitable. Hold on. You see, guys, I've mentioned with Pierce about the idea of acceleration, right? And our current society right now, thanks to technology, is accelerated. But you see, our human minds cannot keep up with this level of forced accelerated evolution. Let me say that again. Our human minds cannot keep up with this forced accelerated human evolution. Which part of us is being forced to evolve? Our social dynamics. If our social dynamics are forced to evolve, what is the outcome? Well, what do we currently see right now? What will be the final outcome? What would be the inevitable outcome? You see what I mean? It's going to take somebody who has great social awareness to actually appreciate this story. Those who read it with shallowness, you're not going to get it. You're going to think that it is gobbledygook, but it's not. You know? This ain't no Jordan Peterson stuff. To accelerate the inevitable. So what is the inevitable under bloody hell? Death. Death is the inevitable. To accelerate the inevitable, which is death. Why? We'll see why. Bound by cosmic causality to be the permanent enemy, the king of light, like a ghost, sways human hearts to see me as the cause of their suffering. I have lived countless lives, fully conscious of this nightmare. All of us living with the illusion of choice, when all along, all outcomes were predetermined. Now that's commentary basically on fate, right? And now it's going to, it's going to break some brains, because it's like, wait. What's the story of bloody hell again? I thought it was about this nigga who just wanted to kill Dracula because Dracula killed his parents. Yeah, that's how it started. And then you find out, oh wait, he can't even kill Dracula, so King Arthur's gonna do it. Okay, cool. And now you find out, wait a minute, what? So this nigga Dracula is, yeah. So what's Jacob gonna do now? Wait, what's Arthur? Does Arthur know all this? Then he says here, though I be slain in the end, he destroys the earth anyway, and creates a new one with a few people vaguely remembering the last earth. Remember how in chapter 2, Jacob's father says a meteor destroyed Earth 1. Well, there's the meteor right there. The only thing is, they didn't know that there were multiple Earths prior. And so here, Jacob freezes, and something sticks out to him, the illusion of choice. And he remembers his talk with the King of Light, blaming the King of Light, saying, but you made us this way. And the King of Light gaslights him, saying, no, your own choices made you this way. Illusion of choice. Now, here's the thing. I had no idea that I was going to get to this point. When I wrote that part of Jacob meeting the King of Light, I was still a Christian, right? I was still a Christian apologist. I had no idea that I would be what I am right now, a non-Christian and a very much so pragmatist. I'm just a pragmatic person, right? So I'm like, man, I didn't plan this, bro. It just happened, and it's so cohesive. And it's so organic. That's the thing about these types of stories. For them to have the greatest of impact, it has to feel organic, you know? So I'm like, I was even surprised that, man, am I the nigga writing this? Nah, there's somebody controlling my brain. That's right. There is somebody. There is somebody. So Jacob drops on his butt, sitting down, holding his head, and he's like, I see. Tell me, why do you need me? Why even bother saving me? And Dracula says, I don't need you. However, I wanted to save you. I wanted to save you because you remind me of my younger self. then why? Why did you kill my family? Asked Jacob. And then we get to this part here, which is critical, because chapter 2, the whole book of light thing was revealed. And when Stefan and Charlotte arrived, Jacob put 2 and 2 together that Dracula destroyed the books of light to hide away hope from the world, yada, yada, yada. But now Dracula explains why he killed his parents, why the books of light had to be destroyed. He says, because had I not, they would have rewritten the contents of that book. And at the appointed time, they would have evangelized its message, creating a new generation of placid, Stockholm syndrome, pious, livestock giving thanks to the King of Light. I had to ensure no one bears any of those fruits. By doing so, I have given humanity a chance, the chance to stare causality, to stare into the face of causality. And rightfully so, Jacob concludes the King of Light himself. I get it. Is there even a solid solution? Here it is, only one. The King of Light must die. Now, surface-minded people, they're like, yeah, dude is just ripping off every Japanese video game. Now they want to kill God. What do you mean they? And if Jacob wants to stop Dracula from killing God, right, why does he want to do it? Because that'd be generic. You see, in Bleach, we don't have a definitive answer from Ichigo why he's stopping Yhwach. Aside from the generic, I'm protecting my friends, that's actually not good enough. The mechanical and metaphysical understanding of what happens if Yhwach takes over the universe, Ichigo has no comprehension of that. He has no comprehension of it. Yhwach wants to take over the universe to merge all the realms and dimensions together, right? Now, the repercussions of merging all those dimensions, it's not properly explored. It's not properly explained, right? So Ichigo is just being, well, a generic hero. I'm going to stop you because I have to. If I don't stop you, all my friends who look up to me are going to die. No, Ichigo, you don't know if your friends will die. Yhwach, by eliminating the 3 realms, actually eliminates death itself. So your friends wouldn't die. You just don't know what would happen. So what are you fighting Yhwach for? That's one of the shortcomings of Bleach in the grand scheme of things. I saw that. So if Jacob wants to stand against Dracula one day, he'd be like, no, I won't let you kill God. Why? Do you actually have a logical reason to stop me? Because look at the next page. Dracula says, just like you, I want revenge as well. All right, what's going on here? The story starts with Jacob wanting revenge to kill Dracula because he's a victim of Dracula. Dracula reveals, listen, I killed your parents because they would have made everybody a placid livestock, worthless people who can't think for themselves. And above all else, I am the way I am because I was made this way. I am the bear unleashed upon humanity. And so I want revenge. That means Dracula doesn't even want to be what he is, right? He doesn't want to be what he is. So now this creates an insane moral dilemma for Jacob. And does Arthur know about all of this? Even I don't know if he knows. So I have no idea, right? So he says this, just like you, I want revenge. And yeah, Jacob is totally bewildered that he said that. He then explains the King of Light. He says, the King of Light is blackness itself wrapped in white. He is midnight garbed in the morning sun. He is contradiction personified. He gives life, joy, and even hope for the sole purpose to take it away. He is the true vampire. That's the part that I didn't think of. I didn't write that. I honestly was like, wait, when I was typing this, my mind went blank. And then when I woke up, I guess, I'm like, wait, who wrote this? Wasn't I typing something else? I was like, I didn't think of this. My physical brain didn't think of this. This came from somewhere else. This wasn't me, but it tied in so well. Because now it's like, the true vampire is the one who made vampires? Oh no. If the vampire philosophy is brutality and how they indulge in robbing people of hope, I wonder where they get that from. Well, now we know. Now we know. So, yeah, this is quite, it broke my brain when I got to this page. I'm like, what? What? Crazy. Let me check some comments quick. Final villain was based, but don't want to spoil him. So, are you into nihilism? Someone told me you are. It's interesting. Nigga, who the heck is that someone? I'm anti-nihilism, bro. I am the one who has overcome nihilism, right? I am Nietzsche's successor, bro. I am the one who lives amor fati. Okay, I said that wrong. Amor fati, right? You know what that means? Look it up. So, I'm not into nihilism as so like I am a nihilist. I am the one who fights against nihilism. I am the one who repels nihilism. I am the one who has overcome nihilism. So I'm not into it like that. I am just the guy who repels it. You know. Samsara from Buddhism, yep. Oh, it is Enoch? Okay. Job was the one of the wager between God and Satan, and he wasn't aware of it, right? Yes, that's the case. The idea of evil chapter, that's right. Not gonna lie, this is low-key an info dump. Well, bro, it's fine. You go drink some water and recalibrate. You know, this is what we do. See, go drink some water, recalibrate. We're exercising that muscle, that brain muscle, right? We're exercising that brain muscle so that it can grow and be stronger, right? So it can be bigger, so that a massive amount of information flooding you is not going to break your brain, right? So go drink some water, man. So in a way, Dracula has become nature in a way he is to accelerate the inevitable. He was made to accelerate the inevitable. I love that line where Dracula says, just like you, I want revenge. Oh, you get it, bro. You get it. Yeah. Locke says, oh, now I get what the deal was with the multiple Earths. Skipped over it because Marvel and DC have basically given me PTSD. Yeah, I know what you mean. Because all the Marvel DC ones, it's always just a scapegoat to, like, you know, relaunch a new comic verse and whatnot. Nope. There'll be no alternate universes here. There's only one. There's only one. I hated it too. If truly there have been more Earths, what makes this Earth special to the point that a savior has to be brought up for this Earth's salvation? Well, who said the other Earths didn't have a savior? You see? You see? That's right. I never said the other Earths never had a savior. I just never mentioned it. I omitted that. That question is a question that you can sit and scratch your head with for all eternity. It's one of those questions where I'll purposely not answer. You see, it's not really important, but this new Earth is different, right? It is different because what I want to do, right? What I want to do. I mean, yeah, this won't spoil the ending, but this Earth has to be the final Earth. That's all I can say, right? This Earth has to be the final Earth. No one knows what happened. If Dracula wants to kill God, no one knows what that's gonna even do. Only he knows that, right? Only he knows what that will do. So QB giving Madoka and Co the power to fight witches, only for themselves to become witches after a point. So an endless cycle. Okay, I don't know that series you're referencing, but in a way, that's kind of what I'm doing here, but not really. And you'll see when I get to the other pages. The process of demoralization has been completed in Nihilus. Absolutely, right? The dudes who are absolute black pill, I don't even know why you're still breathing. Might as well just pull the trigger, right? Just pull it. The irony of, and that's one of the things that massive book about the Renaissance pretty much alluded to early on in the pages, is that all that beauty and wonder that was created in the Renaissance was created during a time when everything was so jacked beyond belief. Jacked beyond belief. The Sistine Chapel was painted by an old man who had back problems and eye problems, who didn't even want to do it. But the Catholic Church held a gun to his head and said, look, you're going to do it. We want you to do it. Or else. You see what I mean? Pain gave birth to wonders. That's the irony of life. That's the irony, man. Not that all pain will always give birth to wonders, but we all hope most of the time that is the case. After all, the idea of being a Super Saiyan through pain, through loss, comes power, comes an angelic transformation, golden hair, golden aura, and all of that. Come on, Come on. It was all in our faces all along. And we were too young to understand, but right now, you gotta understand. I would say not. Coffee, did you see Homelander's death? Probably one of the best well-done narrative payoffs in TV history, despite the finale being lackluster. Really? You liked Homelander's death? That was one of the most disappointing things I've ever seen, really. Why? Because for me, none of the characters in the boys are likable, except for Homelander, actually. I liked him, but I hated him after season 2 because he's just actually a loser. He couldn't be redeemed. But I still liked him more than everybody else. And that's not how an alpha villain ought to go out. Begging for his life, saying he's going to suck your mushroom and eat your feces if you let him live. No, that was just terrible. That was just terrible. Like, an alpha going out like that. Imagine Thanos say, "Oh no, please, Tony, don't do it. Let me suck you off. Just let me live." Really? Imagine Vader. Same thing. No. In his Vader voice, "Let me suck you off. Let me eat your feces." Come on, man. that was not alpha. Like if you're an alpha, you had superpowers all your life. Yes, I get it. Homelander is a bitch ass at heart who was hiding behind his powers. But that doesn't mean he should have just died as Homelander, not as a bitch. He should have died as Homelander, but at least he could cry, but be like, well done, Butcher. You beat me. Do what you gotta do type thing. While he's crying, but being a man. Not that bitch made thing that I saw over there, bro. But I'm gonna do a deep dive on that ending with examples on Patreon some other time. Because the end point of nihilism is self-erasure. That's right. That's right. Reminding me of Berserk and Bleach, Dracula being the Yuha who wants to kill his father. And if truly the King of Light is what Dracula describes, isn't that a universe to be depressed about the fact? Wait, the idea of evil is the force behind everything and you can do nothing about it. Yeah, that's the case in Berserk. But what you said here, if the King of Light is what Dracula describes, isn't that a universe to be depressed about? Oh, well, yeah. Well, yeah, but you see, this is the part where Nietzsche comes in. Because Nietzsche diagnoses reality and the universe very well. And then he brings up Amor Fati, right? And that's the key. That's the key, but not most people can do it, right? And I'm not really going to explain that part because I'd like the story to explain it itself. But I like that you're asking these questions, you know? Now, this is the type of thing where somebody would have to read this chapter or this story like 5 times to get it. Reread value. See what I'm talking about? So it's good that you're asking that, but it will be somewhat answered within the story. Coffee, I wish you would make video about Bloody Hell more, like just casual videos discussing about the world building and characters. The designs are so sick. By the way, I have all... Oh, great. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Well, bro, you know, I never know if there's much of a demand for Bloody Hell content. And I think this is one of the longest videos about Bloody Hell thus far, you know. But I'd like, yeah, I'll do it, you know, but I always gotta discuss philosophy when talking about Bloody Hell because this is my bread and butter, bro. It's the only reason I'm still going, still alive, because I gotta finish this story, right? So it takes a decent amount of preparation mentally to come in and deliver things about the story. Because sometimes it's like, this is not a simple hunchback story. How many people actually get the philosophical, existential side of things, you know? But I hear you. Wasn't the chapter of the idea of evil removed because it essentially meant as long as humanity wills it, it cannot die and there will always be suffering? Basically, now that explanation there, apparently, I don't know if that's exactly what Kentaro said, but your conclusion is not wrong, right? Your conclusion is not wrong. So, yeah. We haven't had a lot of paid reviews recently. What's going on? Hey, man, it's either dudes are short on cash. That's why I did the sale, right? The sale now is $35 for a paid review for 60 pages, right? Or lower. But it could be that people are just not writing their stories anymore, right? People are just not writing their stories anymore. They gave up. They wrote 1 or 2 chapters and called it a day. They demoralized. or they want to draw 2 pages and get glazed on Instagram and call it a day. So that really could be the case. That people are just demoralized, tired, finished, and jacked. That they can't give me a story of theirs to review. So we'll see now because the sale is up, you know. What are your thoughts on Attack on Titan's basement reveal when they found out? It was epic. Well, through the anime. I watched it through the anime. It was nice. It was, bro, it was great. I was like, what in the hell? It was one hell of a twist. It was a great reveal, a whole different side of things that I'm like, wow, this is fantastic. I really liked it. Really good stuff. What was I? KT, good seeing you still chasing your passions after all these years. Yeah, bro. I'm thinking that's Taha, bro. How you doing, bro? Yeah, I'm still here. I'm still here, man. Like, hey, you know how it was back in the old days. We were in those Facebook groups. You know, we were drawing, fighting against the Indonesians because they were whooping our ass in the artwork. Good times, real good times, you know. So, you know, a lot of people moved on, did other things in life. It's fine, but I'm still here. I'm like, hey, this is what I gotta do, you know. Don't know much about this story, but why would the main character believe him though? I mean, what if he's lying, you know? But you probably have a reason. Yeah, I understand. I mean, after all, Jacob asked that question, why should I believe you? You're just a monster. Now the thing is, when there's a soul connection, you can't lie. So when there's an established soul link, there is no lying. You're pretty much in each other's heads, right? And you're going to see a page here where, well, Dracula confirms what Jacob already was thinking about, what he already was feeling but ignoring. The logic, right? And just the logic alone, because Jacob comes from a family of scholars, philosophers. He knows better, right? He can critically analyze what's being said for himself. So yeah, but that's what Clara would have wanted. Bro, that was just, the boys is just, yeah. Homelander's death was way too pathetic. I was caught off guard when he said that. Exactly. Everybody was like, what? Come on. That said, it was allegedly to mock U.S. government officials or even the president. Nah, it's got nothing to do with mocking the U.S. government or the president. Like, the U.S. government is against everybody. The foreign world and its own people, right? You can mock it as much as we want. It doesn't do anything. It's to mock the idea of what it was, right? That's not hurting the people in government. It's hurting the Americans who were holding on to the American mythology. It's hurting even people outside of America who respected the American mythos. I respected the American mythos, right? Presented through Superman. I respected it. It was to mock all of us who respect or followed it. It was to show us that it's dead. It was to show us and throw it in our face that, ha ha ha, your mythos is gone. Your identity in that mythos doesn't exist anymore. That's what it was for. They can give us a shallow answer as to like, yeah, it was just to mock the president, as if he cares. Because he's not reacting. He's still out there doing that bull crap with Iran for no damn reason, right? Just putting the squeeze on us so them gas prices never go down. So it's got nothing to do with him, bro. They just want to demoralize us because sure as hell, none of the officials in the Pentagon or wherever are demoralized. They're spending that money, they're shooting niggas up, and they just fine. You know, at least the show version of him. Really disappointed with Homelander in the end. They build him up every season of going scorched earth for it to never happen. His son and Butcher should not be giving him. I know, totally, like it. Power scaling is just a mess. Hollywood doesn't know how to write power scaling. It's always inconsistent, just like Invincible. It's inconsistent, nonsensical. It's just emotionally driven. So it's like, okay, that's bad. I'm about to send you 35 to review chapter 3 of Aurora. All right, bro. Thanks a lot. Let me see if it came in already. But it's fine. As soon as it comes in, I'll let you know when it'll be available. Does that mean Jake is into nihilism? You mean Jacob? Because if not, why would he think the creation of existence is useless? And how will Dracula convince him? Because, yeah, did the King of Light do some effed up stuff or something? Because why would he think it's a bad thing? Oh, yeah, we're about to get that answer right here. Bro, Homelander was always like that. I would understand if Darth Vader, Thanos, Zod went out like that. Yeah, I get it, but you see, Homelander is fractured. This is the thing. You have worthless bitch-ass writers who don't know how to fully use a character's fragmented, pieces of their character. They don't know how to harmonize it, right? He was misused because an incompetent bastard was writing that whole thing. There were parts of Homelander where he was a badass, especially like season 1, right? Where he did present himself as heroic or a complete monster. He should have died as a complete monster, right? And be like, I'm still the Homelander, Butcher. And the only reason you won is because you took away my power. Something like that. He should have died a monster, not died a bitch. So, yeah. Okay, going back to the page now. So, Dracula explains that the King of Light is the true vampire. Then we have a flashback of when Dracula was human. Now, if you look at the page carefully over here, kind of reminds you of something, huh? Kind of reminds you of the Garden of Eden. Yeah, so Dracula says, I remember my first day alive. When I was human, those few years felt like they'd never end. I was the only human on the earth before the others were made. At some point, I longed to see another person other than animals, and the only human figure around was the King of Light himself. But, for some reason, he was always distant, within sight, but too far to see fully. After about 60 years since my creation, I finally took the chance to engage with him. And this is him saying, reaching out to the King of Light, right? Father, please wait, I'd like to speak with you about something. He touches him and he's shocked. And the next page is, boom. When I saw his face, I knew nothing good awaited my life, nor all of creation. So this is the King of Light. This is what he looks like. Now, for that question, that's like, so the King of Light is evil? Are you just saying he's evil there? No. And that's going to be the most interesting part. You see, I can't explain everything because that will spoil the ending of the story. But I have once said that God is not good or evil, right? If you look at the original Bantu belief about the Unkulunkul, the creator God, they say he's just a force. He has no personality. He has no enforced will on our lives. He cannot engage with us. So we engage with lesser spirits, says the Bantu people, hundreds of years ago. They've even lost exactly what I just said. But this King of Light, why does he look the way he does? I can't tell you that now. I can't tell you that now. But when that time comes, you're going to understand that there was no other way. There was no other way. But here's a glimpse of what I mean by there was no other way. So Jacob now is having tremendous personal turmoil. He's crashing and he's trying to put the pieces together in himself. So he's saying, I can't believe this. This is sheer madness and ineffable crime to all the living. That's a real word, actually. I looked it up. A crime to all the living. Why? What the fuck am I supposed to do with all of this? My mission? Have you guys noticed how often Jacob brings up the idea of a mission? In chapter 2, he kind of almost died, and then he woke up and said, no one will kill me before I finish my mission, right? He mentions it again in later chapters. Mission. Why is a mission so important? Because if you're in the dark, you need a really good reason to keep moving forward, even though you can barely see what's going on. You need a mission, right? Then he says, does the boy king know this too? Could he serve such a being if he knew all of this? The boy king being Arthur, because now he's aware that Arthur exists. Arthur is the chosen one. If Arthur is the chosen one, and we know Arthur met the King of Light, he represents the King of Light, does he know the King of Light is the root cause of everything bad? Does he know the King of Light made everything the way he did intentionally? Does he know that the King of Light is purposely torturing Dracula? Because if Dracula is consciously aware of every time he dies and he comes back, only to die and come, he's being tortured. Why is he being tortured? Well, you're about to find out right here. Then he also says, this isn't fair, damn it. I had just regained my footing, my hope, my future, my foundation. What will it be now? I was exactly where Jacob is right now last year. This breaking of the foundation, you feel like your soul got broken in half, right? Then he says, but Dracula is right. In fact, he confirmed my initial doubts. I felt gaslit being told all this pain is our own fault. He's the one who made us like this. Yeah, I need to fix that. Humans, just like the bears, are bound by their inherited nature. Vampires? They're just conscious predators. And humans are conscious prey. That part I didn't write that. Like the greater will was writing that. He controlled my brain to write that. Because now, this is very important. Jacob now recognizes that vampires are conscious predators. They can't help to do what they do. Humans are just conscious prey. But that does not mean humans would not prey on each other, because Arthur confirmed that humans do prey on each other. He confirmed it when those children were bullying another child. So Jacob doesn't really know that part yet, that humans can prey on each other too. But we already know in the grand story, we the audience already know because Arthur confirmed it, that just because vampires would not exist doesn't mean there'd be peace on earth. They can't be peace on earth because of what's going to be revealed in the next chapter, in the next page. So continuing here, he says, but I changed. My heart was renewed, right? That was me eons ago, when I thought I changed, or my heart changed and whatnot. Or was it all just a preset hallucination to convince ourselves of a new purpose? The final way to cope with this reality? If Dracula's mission is vengeance against the Maker, he's no longer calling the King of Light that. He's calling him the Maker now, right? That is intentional, because now it's like, how can you represent light if you also made the darkness on purpose? So he's just calling him the Maker. If Dracula's mission is vengeance against the Maker, it almost makes him seem righteous. Now here, most people are like, no way, bro. You saying Dracula is actually the hero of the story? No, I'm not saying that. But you can't call Dracula a villain either anymore. And now it can be like, nah, this is too much. No, actually, it's not. You know, it's not. If you are receiving this story from a philosophical standpoint instead of a normie, you can see the bigger ideas. Because a normie would feel like, oh, that's too much. So God is going to be the real enemy. They're going to team up to kill God, blah, blah, blah. That does not mean that's what's going to happen. Because that's not the point of the story. You see? That's still not the point of the story. The main character is not Dracula. It's not Arthur. It's Jacob. Remember earlier I said a transition has taken place. What Jacob's enemy was once his circumstance, right? His circumstance personified as Dracula himself. Now we transition that your circumstance is not your problem. The problem is causality. What caused your circumstance? The King of Light caused it. But it's rather absurd to say you're going to go fight God. If you couldn't beat or scratch Dracula, how are you going to lay a punch on God himself? You see? So if you analyze this story philosophically and you analyze it from a personal standpoint, that I forgot this nigga's in Africa. This nigga's circumstance dealing with lizards coming to bite him every night, that he can't win. He's always going to get bitten by the lizards. But it looks like he's accepted that he's meant to be lunch for the lizards. But instead of blaming the lizard, he's asking, who made the lizard? Why the lizard gotta come bite me? But he can't now go against Mother Nature. He's gonna be struck by lightning. He can't go and dig every hole, find all the lizard eggs. Who made the eggs? You see? Because there are many ways to receive a story, right? There are three main ways. It's just plainly as it is, just a story. And then secondly, as a message from the perspective of what the author was trying to share through his experiences. And then the third is the grand ideas of the story, the philosophy of the story. Those are the three main ways. I'm trying to make y'all go beyond the first one of just reading it at a surface level basis. So, despite all of this, Jacob's main dilemma right now is what is written in these big words, saying, what is my mission now? What am I supposed to live for? To die for. Now, if you've read Twilight of the Idols by Nietzsche, he touches base on that. That humans want to be told who to live for, want to be told who to die for. Humans want authority to tell them what to do. They want institutions, establishments. They want Manga Plus, Kodansha, Shonen Jump to validate them. Because they are too afraid to find the standards that can validate their endeavor. As I have done so. I have done exactly as Nietzsche said you ought to do. Right? So that's his main concern. It's like, now what am I going to do? Like, I already made peace that I can't kill Dracula, that I'm going to instead go help out the Boy King kill Dracula. But now, Dracula doesn't seem like a main villain here. He is literally just a conscious predator. Yeah. And he doesn't want to be that. Kind of hard to blame Dracula for what he is, especially when he doesn't want to be what he is. Right? So, Jacob continues to say here, how does anything have any meaning if this loop persists? So many lives eradicated despite even honoring the Maker, demolished by his own hand just to keep the cycle going. That's very important, right? It's very important. Many lives demolished by his own hand even though they honored him. That's very important. That is one of those great questions. Why do bad things happen to good people? What is the Christian answer? The generic one? Because they get to go to heaven sooner. Why do bad people live longer? They are given time to repent. That is the greatest hope in the universe. Right? Then he says, he is causality itself, the source of all good and evil. But why? Why make it this way? What's the overall point? Now, I think, isn't in Jeremiah or Ezekiel where Yahweh himself says, I create good and evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. You see, many people never wanted to question the duality that existed in the Christian God. There was always an attempt to force oneness about him. He is singular, he is one, he is only love. But even in the Old Testament, we're told, worship him in fear and trembling. Fearing the terror of the Lord, we persuade men. That's dualistic. Right? That's dualistic. Revelation chapter 3. Repent or else. Or else. He threatens you. And I'm not mad about all of that. I found it cool. But I didn't understand people who said they know him were lying about the dualistic nature of him. He is causality. The same way he caused Job in the Bible to lose everything, he gave Job leprosy by giving Satan permission to screw him over. He caused Job's dilemma. And when Job asked him why, what was his answer? He gaslit Job. Who are you to ask me these things, right? Were you there when I made the planet, right? Do you know what the bear is doing in the mountain over there? That was not answering his question. Job just submitted and said, I know you know everything, and I am but dust and ashes. Yeah, that's not really an answer. That is a surrender, because there is no answer. There is no answer. But you see, I'm going to be the only one who's going to give it. I'm going to be the only one who's going to give it. And it's going to be the most compelling answer in human history thus far. They are in the Bible. Where does God come from? Paul says, from everlasting, from everlasting. That's where he comes from. God is, right? Hebrews chapter 11. That's important. I understood the metaphysical meaning of all of that, you see, but it still doesn't really answer you. It doesn't. The God of the Bible gave us free will. Paul says in Romans, I think chapter 9, he writes that God took over Pharaoh's brain by hardening his heart. God told Moses, go tell Pharaoh to let the people go, but I'm going to harden his heart so he does not let the people go. Why? So I can show my power by unleashing the plagues on Egypt. It didn't have to happen, but it did happen. He's dualistic and he does cause harm. He didn't have to kill all the first sons in Egypt. He didn't have to give the people diseases. Pharaoh could have just been forced to let them go. The same way the prisoner that kept Peter in prison was forced by the Holy Spirit to let Peter go. There is 3-4 accounts where God mingles with someone's free will. But then we are told that he gives us free will. No, he doesn't, because all those people who had their free will mingled, they never knew that their free will was being mingled. How do you know yours isn't? But you see, that's not my main argument. My argument is not against the Christian idea of free will. No, I've gone beyond that. I am on Schopenhauer's level when it comes to this question, right? But using the Christian basis is good and interesting because we're all familiar with it, right? We're all familiar with it. Now, here's a nice simple analogy, or this is an analogy. Well, there's always a rise and fall in society, right? If you look at the Bible itself, right, Isaiah chapter 3 gives us a sequence of events that when a society enters decadence, but reframed as when the society disobeys God, these are the things that happen. If you read Isaiah chapter 3 right now, you're going to be like, hey, this is prophecy. No, bro, it's just a checklist of what happens under decadence. It is just written with that framework, the spiritual framework. All the earth's dying, being blown up, right, on purpose, the rise and fall, the yugas, going into the Kali Yuga, and then finally we go back to the normal Yuga. Can you see the mechanics and ideas that I'm borrowing from? Right? This is riddled with all kinds of hot sauce from one of the most influential pieces of literature in all of humanity. Right? Not just the Bible itself, but all the other philosophies too. It's important because if you were to sit and read, you see, the day Bloody Hell is done and you buy the box set, you buy the Bloody Hell box set, and you read it all in one go, you're going to be like, this nigga did it. Oh, no, he didn't. Yes, I did. That's what I want you to experience. But anyway, Jacob asks, what's the overall point? And Dracula responds by saying, for his glory. Now, this is a tongue-in-cheek to the Bible, of course, because the question as to, like, why did God do all of this? He says, for my glory. So you put a tree that
ignorant people are walking around in, and you allow the talking snake to go in there, and you knew, because you know everything, that they're going to eat it, that's still part of your glory? Yes. So it's a bit of tongue-in-cheek over there, right? And this does create cognitive dissonance if you want to practice logic, you see, and it creates frustration. And then it breaks a part of you that needs to put things in order on a logical framework. It breaks the part of you that needs to understand causality, cause and effect, right? And once that's broken, you can be 100% faithful, because cause and effect doesn't exist in your head anymore. But anyway, here's the main reason all of this chaos happens. Dracula says, but more so, this spiral of life and death generates a cosmic energy. It is the root of his immortal power, his beating heart itself. So what does that mean? That this dualistic chaos, this life and death, it generates an energy that keeps him alive. So where did he come from? Paul says he came from everlasting. Where did the King of Light come from in bloody hell? I will answer that so wonderfully. It's going to be legendary. And it's going to be one of those things of, it's just going to leave you speechless, because it's like there's nothing you can say type thing. There's just nothing you can say. You can't be mad and you can't be happy. It's just going to be one of those things of, there was no other way. There was no other way, right? So Jacob then says, what? But if that's true, how could you even win? How could Dracula win? If the beating heart of the King of Light is the energy that is generated from all the life and death, right? How can he beat him? Well, first of all, he has to find the King of Light. Where is he? He has to find him, right? And I know how he's going to find him. And I know how he's going to want to kill him. So we'll see when the day comes. So here is a part I'm sure nobody expected, right? Dracula reaches out his hand and he says, join me and I will show you how. Together. Yeah, what a insane twist. This whole story thus far, well, not completely thus far, but, you know, Jacob wanted to kill this guy. Now this guy's saying, join me. Well, but now we understand where he's coming from. Dude, I didn't want to do this. I was the first man in creation. I'm trapped in this spiral of death and rebirth, and I'm sick and tired. I want revenge. You and I have something in common, but it's not my fault I killed your parents. I had to kill your parents. I had to. You know, but above all else, if the King of Light didn't make things this way, they would have never died. So in a way, it's not Dracula's fault. But now, in a way, it's almost as if I have muddied the essential distinctions between good and evil. Because most stories, there has to be a definitive good and a definitive evil. Well, reality doesn't have that. Reality does not have definitive good or evil. It doesn't. This is where you will be greatly challenged when you read this, because we're all used to the definitive good and definitive evil. But when you look at reality, there's no definitive good, bro. someone you looked up to randomly disappoints you tremendously, you take it as evil, right? Some evil mother sucker that you know skinned a nigga alive decides to give you $500 on that day just because you needed it. You see? So it's like, no, Coffee, you have muddied the mechanics of good and evil in storytelling. No, I have not. Okay, I've subverted it, but it's intentional. It's not like the boys, where it's to mock things. No, this is to challenge it. The Boys and a bunch of other media coming out right now, like Odyssey, its intention is to mock the foundations, right? I'm not mocking the foundations, I'm challenging it. The foundations were great, and they still are if we were all under its spell. The spell's broken. So we're all too aware now. We can't submit to those foundations anymore. But that does not mean I'm going to mock them. I'm not going to mock them. Instead, I'm going to challenge them, and I'm doing exactly what Nietzsche said to do. Nietzsche said, God is dead. God, in his context, was what? The foundation. And if the foundation is dead, but people in this time were doing those practices out of habit, he's like, it's going to be a disaster. We need to do something right now so nobody gets schizophrenic and falls into nihilism. What was Nietzsche's remedy? The Ubermensch. Become the Superman. Does that mean Jacob's going to become the Superman? Well, not in a generic way like that. You see, I'm challenging the foundations. I'm challenging your foundations. This is the point of stories, especially stories that are born in transitional phases in human history. We are under transition right now. We're entering the fourth industrial revolution. Right? We're entering the fourth industrial revolution, guys. You know that. You own nothing and be happy type-ish. World Economic Forum garbage. So there ain't nobody challenging the status quo right now. Everybody just distracted like a mud as we're all being flushed down the damn sewer where we'll have nothing. No. This story is very intentional, and that's why I said, if the world wasn't crazy, I would have gotten a Nobel Peace Prize by now, bro. I would have been shaking some professor's hand at Oxford. Oxford is jacked now. It's got all these feminists and whatnot. I know it looks like I've muddied the waters. I know it looks like I've senselessly subverted everything. No, I'm challenging the foundations. So Jacob is totally like, he's sad. It's a sad shock. I don't know what word there is for that, like being sad and shocked at the same time. But he understands. So he's totally shocked. But he remembers his dad's head being, dragged. And he can't let that go. You see, the part now, you could have every right to call me an idiot. If Jacob forgave Dracula and say, you know what, I'm going to join you, that'd be retarded. That'd be absolutely retarded. He can't let it go. He can't let go of the fact that Dracula killed his family. Right? He knows it's not really Dracula's fault. He knows Dracula had to do it. Dracula saved Jacob's life even. He didn't kill Jacob. He gave Jacob the vampire gene. And then he gives Jacob the abyss seed. Right? 2 accounts. On the third, which is this, he has given Jacob a chance at life. He has given Jacob a chance at being more powerful. I mean, just Just think about that. If Dracula represents my circumstance, if Dracula represents something I used to disdain because of how powerless it made me feel, how interesting that I've got all this power that I have, not financially or socially, but I suppose intellectually because of the circumstance. The circumstance dire has given me what I have. Dracula caused Jacob to be depressed and sad, but he also caused Jacob to be strong, to be able to lift 10 tons, to be able to regenerate. And he's giving him more power. Right? So Jacob hesitates and he says, what if I say no? And here we have the first, foreshadowing of what I've been saying, who's going to come to Jacob, his brother. This is Jacob's brother. What if I say no? He says, then I will send someone who could convince you. So if you look closely at the design of his brother, I wanted him to look like Darth Vader a little bit. I wanted him to have some Vader action, right? I have his full character design and I can't wait to bring him out. Jacob has no idea he has a brother. I'm not going to explain how's that even possible. You're going to see it. It's going to be sad and cruel, but once again, it's Dracula. Dracula saved Jacob. Dracula saved Jacob's brother. Dracula went to only kill his parents because the parents were a problem. They were going to rewrite the Book of Light. He had to kill them. He knew Jacob didn't know anything about it. And we know he never knew because in chapter 2, Jacob said that I was too young to study the Book of Light. But my father promised me on my 12th birthday that we will study it. But on his 12th birthday, that's when the slaughter happened. You know? So, of course, Jacob has no idea who this guy is that Dracula is alluding to. But he gets up and makes his decision here. This is also one of my favorite pages because it's so simple and has a lot of passable. He says, Dracula, I can't forgive what you've done. But I do see the bigger picture now. You are no longer my enemy. But despite that, I can't join you. Striking down God is your mission, not mine. Oh, and so we start all over again of like, what is he going to do with himself now? Well, we already at least know that his brother will be sent to him to try and convince him to join, right? But we don't know how Jacob is going to react to that. All I can say is it's going to be so cool because I'll say right now, Jacob's brother is the leader of the Black Legion, right? And I've alluded to the rankings, right? There's the Raid Legion captains, and then there is the Royal Guards, who's basically Dracula's children. But there was one in the middle, one legion in the middle, and that is the Black Legion. And the Black Legion is led by his brother. But you're going to see how actually interesting that is going to work because his brother is very essential to the end game. Very essential to the end game. So is Lancelot a little bit. But yeah, And then Dracula smiles and says, "Very well, very well. We will now withdraw. I have delivered my message. But I leave you with a gift, the power to strike at causality." So, Dracula's now gone, but he did destroy the soul tree after all. He replaced the soul tree with a dark pool of water. And in the center is a giant cracked egg. Now, for those who do know a little bit of Gnostic stuff, right, Orphism, then you know what I'm alluding to. What this egg is, right? Even some young in action, what this egg is, what this dark, murky pool is. So once again, Dracula spares Jacob and gives him even more power. This power still can't harm Dracula. Now the question is, what's he going to do with it? Right? What's he going to do with it? It's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, that's it. That's the end of this chapter. And this was a major turning point in the entirety of the story. This is why I said this is the halfway point. This is the halfway point because Dracula's not really the villain after all. Everybody thinks now, those who know, that the King of Light is the villain. But you know, all I can say is yeah, there was no other way. There was no other way. That's all I can say. Dracula, Jacob, they're in agreement. The villain is the King of Light. But what they both don't know is there was no other way. So how will everything be fixed? It's going to be the greatest ending ever. Because now I know that endings, what they are supposed to do, they're supposed to be your hope. They're supposed to be your hope. Right? And I will deliver a good ending. Trust me. Okie dokes. Let me check some of them comments here. I agree, the writing started falling off. Oh, we're talking about Homelander. This jump ship from Castlevania. Hey man, I see what you say. I see what you say. I did like Castlevania. Yeah. But not really. Looks like the opposite of what you'd imagine a King of Light would look like. Yeah, that's the scary part. It's going to be so cool describing and showing why he looks that way. You know, why do you look so scary? Guys, it's actually just going to be, I don't want to say sad, but I haven't read a story or a hypothesis that can explain this, right? Because if we read Bible in the Old Testament, it describes God as glowing, burning metal. When Moses was told that, okay, Moses, tell everybody to get away from the mountain. I'm going to come and see you, but you can't look at my face. But I'll let you look at my back, because no man can see my face and live. You see? Now, we all believed that his face was so radiant, so perfect, so pure and whatnot that you're just going to die from awe. But what if he hid his face because of what my King of Light looks like? Dracula said the King of Light is black wrapped in light, wrapped in white, right? He is midnight garbed in the morning sun. See? That's me challenging what we all know. But As to why he looks like that, it's gonna be nicely explained. Dope page though, the shading and the contrast. Thanks. Isaiah 45:7. All right. Though I forgot 45:7. I wound and I heal. Oh, yeah, that part. Deuteronomy 32:39. That's what I'm talking about. Is that panel meant to look like an eye peeking at us? Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it was, I should say. My glory page, when you check here. If the essence of Dracula came from a meteor and crash landed on Earth, how was he birthed in the new world, if you know what I mean? If he is destroyed in one, how does he come about in a new one? Awesome. You're asking the right questions. That's where the fairies come in. Where do fairies come from? I'll give you a hint. Have you noticed that the vampires have long ears like the fairies? That's all I'll give you. Notice that Dracula there, he also has long ears. Right? Lisa said in volume 3, I couldn't go home. And after Earth 1 was destroyed, I was left wandering around. Something like that. So that's the hint I'll give you, bro. The key is the fairies. The key is the fairies. The fairy and the vampire both have the same ears. Why? The only difference is that the vampires have, those teeth, those fangs. So Jacob is offered the red and blue pill. Hey, I never thought about it like that. One, to continue in his belief of the King of Light being the good in the world and humans being the ones truly to blame, even though he knows he ain't lying. That's right. That's right. I didn't think about it like that, but yeah, basically. Basically. Yeah. This is better than anything in Shonen Jump right now. Thank you kindly. This is what we do. We challenge things. As both are souls in sync, so he can't lie to him as the many who even though the truth is shown, they choose to follow what comforts them, and the other pill to listen and follow him in a way. Yeah, basically. Right? You can't lie in the inner world. You just can't. These modern mangaka aren't writing thought-provoking stories like this at all. They're not trying, And besides, these establishments are like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You making people scratch their heads? Nah, you're fired. That's the problem. Or the third pill, Jacob knows the truth but chooses not to follow through. Well, see, after all, knowing such things is going to break your head for a while. And there's going to be a little mini training arc because this new power that Jacob has, it's abyss energy, right? He now has full access to the abyss trinity, right? We saw the abyss trinity in volume 3. He has to train in that energy. So it's going to have to be Irene again to train him because now he can never do soul sync again. He can never transform as he once did when Lisa, him and her merge. They can't do it. So Irene is going to have to train him. But here's going to be some controversial thing. I don't know if it's controversial, but now that Jacob's full vampire gene is activated, it means all the impulses of a vampire are activated, right? That means the 3 primal instincts that Jacob never experienced because Lisa was, inside of him, he's going to wrestle with it. So what are the 3 primal instincts of vampires? It is blood, violence, and sex. Jacob has never desired blood, thanks to Lisa. He's never been battle crazy because of Lisa, and he's never even thought about going deep inside of a woman. So now he's screwed, because now it's like he has to drink blood or else. But there's a way to compensate, right? There's a way to compensate. Pretty much he has to choose one out of the three in order not to die or to go crazy, right? So their romance is going to be a bit skewered here. But Irene plays a big role in Jacob's training and keeping him on track, because Irene is the type of character who just does what needs to be done. It's like, look, you have to do this or you're in trouble. I don't really care how you feel, right? You gonna do it or what? So out of the three, Jacob has to choose if he'll indulge in drinking blood or killing or sex. He has to choose which one out of the three, right? This is a new struggle that he's going to deal with. And I remember a guy said, I wish I could have seen Jacob struggle getting used to being a vampire, because we never see him drink blood. He is going to now. He never struggled because of Lisa, but now he's going to struggle. So it's going to be interesting as to like which one is he going to choose. So right, I'm telling you right now, he's not going to choose to drink blood. No, he's not. So he has to choose between killing or engaging in a, I don't want to say a lot, but intense passions in the chambers, right? And let's say he chooses that. Obviously, I'm not going to show it like that. But it is to show, it's going to show just how hard vampires actually do have it. Right? They actually do have it hard. They are predators bound by nature, but they just have consciousness. But they just accept that this is who they are, what they are, and they indulge in it. The only vampire that doesn't do it is Dracula, because the guy is like 1 trillion years old. Well, his soul is, and he's just not there. He's overcome all of that, you know. Linda says, okay, I have a hunch. Could it be that since fairies are somewhat of the king of light, and the fairies are connected to Dracula, so he can find a way to kind of subvert the creation of the king of light? I ain't gonna lie, bro. You're not close at all. You're not close at all. To his own will to help him appear in the new world. Well, that part, you're almost there. Like Lucifer subverts what is of God to create something of his own that has a connection to the Lord. But by doing that, the evil has a way to gain access. Not at all. Dracula does not have any control how he re-enters a new world. All of that is not caused by him, it's caused by the King of Light. The King of Light destroys one earth to create a new one, and each one is slightly different from the last one. So, I'll tell you right now, there were no fairies prior to the other earth that just got destroyed. The fairies don't know that there's a Gaia. They think there's only been one earth that was destroyed, and they have no idea. Lisa has no idea, and Jacob will ask. He will ask. So that's going to be so interesting, because it's going to show that nobody knows what the heck's going on. Everybody's been making it up as they went along, trying to explain things, right? And so, thus far, there'll only be like 2 people who know, and maybe Arthur, right? And that's going to be interesting. But there's going to be like that one character who has not even showed up yet. He's a human who's going to challenge the status quo. He doesn't know what Jacob knows, but in his philosophy, he's a bad guy. He's a human who's a bad guy. And he's a bad guy believing he's doing good by doing bad things to humans, right? And you're going to see why. It's going to be interesting because everything that I establish here, it has to be challenged within the story, right? The narratives, the philosophy, there has to be a countering philosophy that either wins or falls short to the main one in the plot. You see? So, yeah, that's how it gotta be. That's how it gotta be. But yeah, y'all, like this was one heck of a school session. We spoke about that philosophy. We spoke about that bloody hell, you know. And I didn't need a jacuzzi to experience the elation, right? I didn't need a cheeseburger as a hunchback needs a cheeseburger every 5 seconds to feel all right. What I needed was to just do my work, right? What I needed was just to express my ideas in a coherent manner, right? And show y'all the bigger picture of what I'm trying to do. These are the guys that don't want to challenge you, that just want to be a mumbling buffoon that is going to be treated as background music. I know some of y'all might be treating me as background music, but you know you pause. And you're like, I gotta rewind. What this nigga said? The other people, you ain't rewinding nothing. They're forgettable, disposable. And it's like, if y'all, those who play it safe so often, you're never going to have impact. Your attempt to have impact is always going to be trying to shock your readers by having some gore or some big fat butt on the screen or just something completely random and gay. So those people, it's like it doesn't have to be this way. But if you're that shallow, oh well, what can you do? What can you do, bro? So yeah, volume 5, I still think I can make it for December. The next chapter, we're going back to Irene. We're concluding the fight between those two. Jacob will wake up again in the real world. Somebody's going to die. All right, somebody in the Jacob crew is going to die. And someone might say, well, Lisa's not really dead, so who's going to die? Irene's not going to die because you just said she's going to train Jacob. Is Peter going to die? No one really cares about him because he just showed up. Is Charles going to die? Is that weird girl hiding going to die? Who's going to die? Somebody's going to die. And it's going to matter. Not grandly, right? But it's going to matter in one character's development. So this is going to be the conclusion. And I thought it might go on a bit longer, but I'm glad it doesn't have to. This is the conclusion of this little mini arc. And then the next arc we're going into will be, well, finding a cure for Irene so she can get her full power. And before that though, concluding the fight between Lancelot, Alex, and Arthur. Arthur is going to fight Alex. We're going to see Arthur's full power. He's just going to show his full power to show Alex that you don't stand a chance. Like, I don't even know why you bother. But he's not going to kill Alex. He has a special whatever for him, right? And we're gonna have after the saving Irene arc, getting a cure for her. Finally, Jacob is going to go meet Arthur, and then it goes into the Crusader arc. And the Crusader arc is basically everybody commissioned to go kill all the vampire captains, right? And after that, we pretty much have the beginning of the end, right? We have the beginning of the end. And of course, throughout all of this, Jacob is going to meet his brother twice before the final fight. First for introduction, and then second is going to be their first real fight, and then their last fight will be at the final battlefront. And then, yeah, at that battlefront, it's going to be like, all right, what's going to happen? The greatest twist is going to be related to Arthur again. No, he's not going to join Dracula like that. He's not all of it. No, you're just going to. Arthur doesn't like being what he is, right? So he's going to do what any human does, right? He's going to want to exercise his freedom. That could lead into a problem. There was a guy who said something, I don't know if he quoted a philosopher, but he said, if a human has everything, a human will shatter that everything with a click of a button just to test if he is still free. Right? So that's something to chew on. Arthur has everything. But all that everything can sometimes feel like a cage. So, what? Is Arthur going to destroy everything to try and feel free? Well, he's not going to destroy everything like that. But he's going to try to feel free. That's going to be problematic. And I was thinking about what to do with Julian. Like, should I kill Julian off? Should Julian be arrested? And stuff like that. And I was like, you know what? Julian is a freak of nature, that's for sure. But he could be useful in the final fight. He could be useful. So I have an idea of what to do with him in the final fight. Should be interesting. Should be interesting. Gay and retarded, bro. You bet it's the butler who's gonna die? Oh, man. Well, I ain't saying nothing. I ain't saying nothing, bro. I ain't saying nothing. Okay? Coffee, has there ever been a webcomic or comic that had bad art, but the story or premise hooked you? Furthermore, what are your thoughts on bad art but great story? Well, most people, not me, would say the original One Punch Man guy. I never read the webcomic of One Punch Man before Murata took over. I never read it. I doubt I would have, because already it's presented as a gag. I'm not into gag stuff like that. I wouldn't take a gag manga serious. And even after Murata took over, One Punch Man is still not something to take serious. So, I'm trying to think. Bad art, but good story? I can't think of one. Maybe a few American comics. Now, unfortunately, since they're all so random and they don't follow a sequence, there was Green Lantern Brightest Day. right? It had a bunch of different artists. And in the beginning was very good, and then the art turned into mush, right? I still kept reading because it was very well written. That's one example. So why would I say it's like when the art turned into mush? How and why? Well, number one, the level between the early chapters and the later chapters is completely different. Like the skill level is completely different. The guy who drew the first couple of chapters is a master. And then the other guy looks like he's some guy found in Guatemala and just commissioned to draw, right? It's like, yeah, just draw those heroes over there, bro, and they're the storyboards, it'll be all right. It was unappealing. Let me say that. You can have a bad foundation, right? A technical bad foundation in how you draw the human form. But if your characters are appealing, they're nice to look at, right? You can get away with it. That's where people get it twisted. Is that in Demon Slayer's case, terrible technical skills, absolutely atrocious. But levels of appeal, it's 30% appealing, 70% disgusting. The aesthetics are 70% appealing, but the character designs are 30% appealing. And by aesthetics, I mean like the wardrobe, the overall Japanesey aesthetics of the whole artwork as a whole. But the character designs in the manga, it got worse, not better. Volume 1 has better art than later volumes. It just got worse. It disintegrated. But people found a redeeming aspect about the manga, which is it's got very appealing aesthetics, right? So if you're bad at technical drawing skills, you better have very appealing aesthetics or appealing designs. Seven Deadly Sins is an example. It's got fantastic medieval aesthetics, one of the best, right? But it also has very appealing character designs. So appealing that the mechanical mistakes of the human form are easily overlooked. Legit, a character could have 2 left feet and you're gonna like, okay, it's just a tiny mistake, right? The character's head and neck can be longer than a giraffe. It don't make no sense, and you can tell it's an accident. You're like, well, it's fine. Because the appeal is so great, right? So remember that under the coffee ranking system, remember I made that ranking system, the D rank, C rank, B rank. Demon Slayer, I ranked it as a D, right? That's the bare minimum. The bare minimum is a D. The guy who made One Punch Man, the webcomic, that's below a D. That's just complete ass. So, yeah. Or it's the Frostwood chick probably died in the process. Nah, the Frostwood chick ain't dead. She's still gonna live. She still gotta go tattletale. Because she finally realized that she was in over her head, you know. Only thing that comes to my mind is Mob Psycho. Yeah, that is the guy who made the One Punch Man. But I never read Mob Psycho either. Just mangaka today aren't putting in the effort. They tired, bro. They tired, and good work does not promise a good future anymore. I mean, it's very hard to work hard knowing full well that you ain't gonna be rewarded for it. What the hell? It's almost 1 a.m.? You gotta be kidding me. Why didn't y'all tell me about the time? Oh, damn, bruh. I gotta go run in the morning. I didn't see that. And I was like, fitting on playing a game right now. But that just shows that we were deep up in the realm of ideas today, right? But anyway, yeah, these artists are tired. Um, they ain't got no sauce left. They just ain't, and it's not really their fault. They didn't cause this to happen, you see. Um, we got a very short time to tell our stories, and you gotta tell it because you have to. You can't force it. You gotta need to tell it, and it'll be told. If you're forcing it, it's not sustainable. It's not gonna work out. And that's all, really. But it would have been nicer if some of the other people I reached out to join the coffee team, they joined in, because it's like, y'all ain't having no conversations like this. All of y'all out there deem yourselves as writers and, you know, greatly inspired by certain authors and whatnot, but you cannot have a conversation like the one we're having right here. You're not being inspired anywhere else because you're playing it safe. And then on top of that, nobody's even reading your stuff on Global Comics that has an AI machine that's localizing and changing the stories of everybody there. Oh, well. It's crazy. It's 5 p.m. over here. 6, yeah. Okay, y'all, I gotta call it a wrap. PH Media, forcing what now? I don't know what you mean by that, bro. I don't know what you mean by that. I probably forgot then what I was saying in that context. Oh well, yeah, I guess you'll catch the rerun. Alright, y'all. It was a good stream. Almost 3 hours of talking about bloody hell and philosophy. It's good stuff. It's how it's supposed to be. Oh, you said you can't force it. You can't force yourself to tell a story. It just has to be in you. You know, it just has to be in you. You have to need to tell the story. That's what I meant. But anyway, that's it for now, y'all. Peace out. Kill all the hunchbacks, right? And check out the Patreon. And don't forget the sale. $35 for a review. Right? Peace.